In 1965, Syria executed a man they called Kamel Amin Thaabet, but that wasn't his real name, his true identity. Eli Cohen, the spy who came in from the heat. From rejected recruit to Mossad legend, Cohen's journey is stranger than fiction. How did this ordinary guy fool Syria's elite? And why won't they give back his body, even decades later? Picture this. Tel Aviv, 1960. Eli Cohen, a regular guy with a knack for numbers, shuffles papers at his accounting job. He goes home to his wife, Nadia, and their kids. Life seems pretty ordinary for Cohen. Then, out of nowhere, he gets a call from the Ministry of Defense. They want to meet him. Most folks would be thrilled, right? Not Cohen. He's skeptical, maybe even a little annoyed. He's got a good thing going. Why shake things up? So Cohen turns them down. He's got responsibilities, a family to take care of. The spy game? Not his scene. He's already done his time in military intelligence during the Sinai War. But life has other plans. Cohen's accounting firm goes under, leaving him jobless. Bills pile up. The fridge gets emptier. Suddenly, that Ministry of Defense offer doesn't look so bad. Now, you might wonder why they'd want an accountant, but think about it. Who's better at spotting patterns in data? Who's got the patience to sift through mountains of information? Cohen swallows his pride and calls the ministry back. "Remember that job offer?" he asks. "Is it still available?" Luckily, it is. But here's the kicker. They don't want him for his math skills. They've got something else in mind, something big. Cohen's no fool. He knows this isn't some cushy desk job. This is dangerous work, the kind that could get a guy killed, but he's got a family to support and a country to serve. So he takes a deep breath and says yes. Just like that, Eli Cohen, everyday accountant, steps into the shadowy world of espionage. But he's not Agent 007 yet. Far from it. The Mossad doesn't just hand out licenses to kill. They've got to make sure Cohen's got what it takes. And let me tell you, their idea of a job interview makes your toughest exam look easy. Cohen's about to find out if he's really cut out for this spy business. Will he make it? Well, that's another story. Cohen's journey from number cruncher to master spy is just beginning, and it's going to be one wild ride. Remember that wild ride we promised? Well, things are about to get intense. Eli Cohen's journey from accountant to spy is taking a dramatic turn. How do you think a man used to crunching numbers would handle Mossad training? The Mossad doesn't take preparation lightly. Cohen went through a grueling 6-month course that pushed him to his limits. He learned high-speed driving, weapons, cartography, sabotage, photography, and even film development. In the world of espionage, you never know what skills might save your life or your mission. One of the most challenging tests? The freezing bathtub. Agents are submerged in ice-cold water while maintaining their cover story. It's designed to push them to their absolute limits. You might think Cohen would crack. But here's the surprising part. He thrived. His trainers were amazed by his ability to memorize intricate details, even in extreme conditions. But it wasn't just his memory that stood out. Cohen had a natural charisma, a way of connecting with people that you can't teach. In espionage, that's invaluable. What good is all the technical know-how if you can't get people to trust you? As weeks turned into months, a question lingered. Would Cohen make the cut? The Mossad isn't known for going easy on recruits. They need the best of the best, and they're not afraid to wash out anyone who doesn't measure up. But Cohen wasn't just any recruit. He soaked up knowledge, mastered skills, and showed extraordinary composure under pressure. In the end, there was no doubt. Eli Cohen emerged as a top recruit, ready for whatever came next. Little did he know, the real challenge was just beginning. Cohen wasn't just going to play a spy, he was going to become someone else entirely. And that's where our story really gets interesting. Think you're good at remembering birthdays? Try remembering an entire fake life. Eli Cohen's next mission was about becoming a completely different person. From his accent to his mannerisms, every detail of his new identity had to be perfect. But as he dove deeper into his role, a chilling question emerged. At what point does the lie become the truth? Cohen's transformation began with a name: Kamel Amin Thaabet, a wealthy Syrian businessman who'd been living in Argentina. Sounds simple? It wasn't. Cohen had to live and breathe as Kamel. He started with language. Cohen spoke Arabic, but with an Egyptian accent. That wouldn't work for a Syrian businessman. So he studied Syrian Arabic until he could fool native speakers. But that was just the beginning. Cohen had to change everything about himself. He adopted new habits and even changed the way he thought. In espionage, one tiny slip could mean game over. Here's where it gets intense. Cohen was living his role day in, day out. Can you imagine the toll that takes on a person? Constantly suppressing your true self, your real thoughts and feelings. It's enough to make anyone question their sanity. Yet Cohen pushed through. He threw himself into his new identity with scary dedication. He mingled with the Arab community in Buenos Aires, quickly establishing himself as a big spender. Lavish parties, generous loans to government officials. Cohen, or should we say Kamel, knew how to make friends in high places, but would it be enough? As Cohen worked his way deeper into Syrian elite circles, the stakes got higher. One wrong move, one inconsistent detail, and his entire cover could unravel. The constant pressure must have been immense. Every conversation was a test, every social interaction a potential trap. Yet somehow Cohen pulled it off. His transformation was so convincing that he successfully established his cover in Argentina. The Syrian community didn't just accept him, they embraced him. Kamel Amin Thaabet became a respected figure, a man of influence and connections. But this was just the beginning. Cohen had passed the first test, but the real challenge lay ahead. Now it was time to take his act to Syria itself. Cohen was about to walk into the heart of enemy territory. The stakes were about to get a whole lot higher. Eli Cohen's life became a dangerous balancing act as he infiltrated Syrian high society. His mission in Buenos Aires was complex: get close to Syrian elites, gain their trust, and extract valuable information, all while maintaining a false identity. The pressure was immense. Cohen's strategy? Hosting extravagant gatherings that dazzled even the most sophisticated socialites. Picture exotic foods, champagne flowing freely, and music keeping guests dancing until dawn. But these weren't just parties. Every interaction was a calculated move in Cohen's intelligence-gathering game. As Kamel, Cohen became known for his generosity. Need a loan? A business opportunity? Kamel was the go-to guy. Everyone wanted to know him, the man with the golden touch. But this generosity came at a price, one that Cohen collected in the form of valuable information. The constant fear of exposure loomed over Cohen. One misstep, one inconsistent detail, and his cover could be blown. Imagine juggling countless lies while trying to extract sensitive information. It's enough to make anyone's head spin. Yet Cohen thrived in this high-stakes world. He had an uncanny ability to say the right thing at the right time. By aligning himself with Arab nationalist sentiments, he caught the attention of influential figures, including General Amin el-Hafez, who later became Syria's president. Cohen's charm offensive paid off handsomely. He gained access to political discussions that would be invaluable to any intelligence agency. But he didn't stop there. Cohen excelled at piecing together seemingly insignificant details overheard in cafes, forming a comprehensive intelligence picture. As Cohen's network expanded, so did his reputation. He became known as a wealthy businessman eager to invest in Syria. This persona opened doors normally closed to outsiders, with high-ranking officials viewing him as an asset rather than a threat. Even as Cohen celebrated his successes, he knew the real challenge lay ahead. Buenos Aires was just the beginning. The main event awaited him in Damascus, the heart of Syria. As he prepared for his next move, Cohen wondered, would his carefully crafted persona hold up under even greater scrutiny? The stakes were about to reach new heights. You know those spy movies where the hero always has some fancy gadget? Eli Cohen didn't need any of that. His secret weapons, a luxury apartment, and a well-stocked bar. But how could a swanky pad and free drinks possibly lead to uncovering state secrets that would change history? Let's zoom in. On February 1962, Cohen's just landed in Damascus, fully embodying his alter ego, Kamel Amin Thaabet. He rents a villa right next to Syrian army headquarters. Pretty bold move, right? Now, being so close to the enemy would make anyone sweat. One wrong word, and Cohen could end up facing a firing squad. But our guy doesn't blink. Instead, he throws a party. These weren't your average get-togethers. Cohen's place became Damascus's hottest ticket. Military brass, government officials, everyone wanted in. And Cohen, he was the perfect host, pouring drinks, cracking jokes, and listening. Always listening. Here's where it gets really interesting. Cohen befriends George Salem Saif, the director of Radio Damascus. In a country where information was gold, Saif was a treasure trove of intel. As their friendship grew, so did Cohen's knowledge. He absorbed every detail about Syrian military plans and political schemes. But the real kicker, he learned about something big brewing with the Ba'ath Party. What's the Ba'ath Party, you ask? They were Arab nationalists with some pretty extreme ideas. And Cohen discovered they were planning a coup. Yeah, you heard that right. A full-on government takeover. This wasn't just rumors. Cohen had names, dates, the whole shebang. It was information that could reshape the Middle East. But here's the million-dollar question. How was Cohen going to get this explosive intel back to Israel? Remember, he couldn't just send an email or make a quick call. Every move was watched. Every communication could be intercepted. Cohen had the hottest information in Damascus, but without a way to share it, it was useless. So there he was, sitting on a powder keg of intelligence, surrounded by potential enemies, with no easy way to contact his handlers. How would Cohen pull off the impossible and get this crucial information into the right hands? Well, that's where things get really wild. In the dead of night, when Damascus slept, a different kind of battle was being fought. One man, armed with a tiny radio and nerves of steel, was about to change the course of history. How do you transmit state secrets when even the walls have ears? For Eli Cohen, this was his nightly reality. After the last party guest had stumbled home and the streets fell silent, Cohen would begin his real work. Hidden in his apartment, he'd pull out a small, advanced radio transmitter, a marvel of miniaturization easily concealed around his home. Cohen knew Syrian military communications filled the airwaves at all hours. He'd wait, sometimes until the early morning, for the perfect moment when his transmissions could blend into the background chatter. Now, you might think sending coded messages would require some complex system, but Cohen's method was far more ingenious. He used a codebook written in invisible ink. Imagine trying to read a message that isn't there, all while knowing discovery meant certain doom. After each use, Cohen would destroy the codebook with a special chemical mixture. No evidence left behind, just in case. Picture Cohen, hunched over his radio, speaking softly into a microphone. His voice, carrying vital intelligence, is recorded onto tape. Then, with steady fingers, he'd transmit that recording over a secure frequency to his handlers in Tel Aviv. Cohen had some close calls. Once, a lieutenant dropped by unexpectedly mid-transmission. Quick thinking saved the day. Cohen convinced him the codebook was just a harmless crossword puzzle. What kind of information was worth all this risk? Cohen uncovered Syria's military cooperation with Iraq, an alliance that could shift regional power. He learned of plans to divert the Jordan River, a move that would threaten Israel's water supply. Cohen built a picture of Syria's military capabilities more detailed than anything Israel's top brass could have imagined. As his value grew, so did the stakes. Cohen wasn't just gathering intelligence anymore, he was shaping the future of the Middle East. But success can be dangerous. As Cohen's star rose in Syrian society, as his information proved more crucial, he started pushing boundaries. He was about to take on his most daring mission yet, one that would put him closer to the heart of Syrian power than ever before. The question was, how far could he go before his luck ran out? Cohen's daring exploits had already yielded invaluable intelligence, but his most ingenious move was yet to come. How could a few trees turn the tide of war? Welcome to the Golan Heights, where Cohen's green thumb would plant the seeds of victory. It's 1964. And Cohen finds himself on a tour of Syrian military positions in the strategically crucial Golan Heights. Picture this. He's surrounded by high-ranking Syrian officials, trying to memorize every detail of the landscape, every gun emplacement, every potential weakness in the defenses. But he can't exactly whip out a notebook and start sketching, can he? So how does he do it? Cohen relies on his extraordinary memory, carefully storing away every scrap of information. He notes the positions of bunkers, the types of weapons, the number of troops, all while keeping up a facade of casual interest. It's like trying to solve a complex math problem in your head while having a chat about the weather. But here's where Cohen's genius really shines. As they're walking around in the scorching Syrian sun, he has an idea. "You know," he says to the Syrian officials, "your soldiers must be boiling out here. Why not plant some trees, give them a bit of shade?" It seems like such a simple, thoughtful suggestion. The Syrians nod in agreement. Why not indeed? This seemingly innocuous proposal would prove to be a masterstroke of military deception. Fast forward to 1967. The Six-Day War erupts, and Israel launches an offensive to capture the Golan Heights. Those trees Cohen suggested, they've become perfect markers for Israeli artillery. Each cluster of trees corresponds to a Syrian fortification, providing a detailed map of enemy positions hiding in plain sight. The results are devastating. Israeli forces, armed with Cohen's intelligence, capture the Golan Heights in just 2 days. It's a swift, decisive victory that changes the shape of the Middle East. But Cohen's contributions went far beyond just the trees. Remember all those details he memorized. They proved invaluable. His reports included detailed sketches and photographs of Syrian positions, allowing Israeli forces to plan their operations with surgical precision. They knew exactly where to strike and how to exploit vulnerabilities in the Syrian defenses. Some experts argue that similar information could have been gathered through aerial reconnaissance. But there's no denying the impact of Cohen's on-the-ground intelligence. He provided context, details, and insights that no spy plane could capture. As news of Israel's lightning-fast victory spread, questions started to arise. How did they do it? How did they know exactly where to strike? The full extent of Cohen's contributions wouldn't be known for years. But one thing was clear: Israel had pulled off a military miracle. But success in the spy game can make you overconfident. As Cohen's star continued to rise, as his information proved more and more valuable, he started to push the boundaries of what was possible. He was about to embark on his most daring mission yet, one that would bring him closer to the heart of Syrian power than ever before. The question was, how far could he go before his luck ran out? Picture this. You're at a swanky Damascus soiree, mingling with Syria's movers and shakers. The champagne's flowing, and you're the life of the party. But there's a twist. You're an Israeli spy named Eli Cohen. Every handshake could be your ticket to the top, or a one-way trip to the gallows. Cohen's connection with Syrian President Amin al-Hafez was the stuff of legend. He threw these fancy parties at his Damascus pad, but they weren't just for show. They were his secret weapon. As the night wore on and the drinks kept coming, military secrets and political plans would spill out. Cohen was all ears, soaking up every detail for his nightly reports back to Israel. Now here's where things get interesting. Cohen's cover was so good, his connection so solid, that he was actually in the mix for some pretty high-up government gigs. But let's not get carried away. Some experts say this was just a tall tale cooked up by Israeli intelligence. Either way, Cohen was in deep, really deep. His friendships with El-Hafez and other Syrian bigwigs gave him insider access to all sorts of juicy intel. We're talking details about Syria's hush-hush arms deals with the Soviets, their military teamwork with Iraq, the works. This was pure gold for Israeli intelligence, helping them get a handle on the threats in the region. But Cohen wasn't done yet. He uncovered plans to mess with Israel's water supply. This wasn't just political games. This was potential war territory. The intel Cohen sent back to Tel Aviv about this scheme was crucial, giving Israel time to prepare and protect one of their most vital resources. As Cohen fired off his report about the water plot, he couldn't shake the feeling that his time in Syria might be running out. How much longer could he keep up this dangerous charade? The answer to that question would shape not just Cohen's fate, but potentially the future of the entire region. The clock was ticking, and Cohen was walking a tightrope with no safety net. By late 1964, the atmosphere in Damascus was shifting. Syrian intelligence, now under Colonel Ahmed Swidani's watchful eye, started noticing some oddities. Sensitive information was finding its way to Israel a bit too conveniently. Coincidence? Not likely. The Syrians weren't about to let their secrets walk out the door. They tightened security and implemented a clever trick: radio silence. In January 1965, they imposed a communication blackout. The goal: to catch any illegal transmissions. It was like trying to spot a whisper in a hurricane, but if anyone could do it, it was the Syrians. Cohen was feeling the pressure. During his last secret visit to Israel in November 1964, he told his Mossad handlers he wanted out. But here's the kicker. The Mossad wasn't ready to let go. They pushed for one last mission. Just one more, they said. What could go wrong? A lot, as it turns out. Cohen's transmissions became more frequent. Some Mossad officials later claimed this made it easier for Syrian intelligence to track him down. Was it really his fault, or was he just following orders? Now, picture this. It's January 24th, 1965. Cohen's in his apartment, radio in hand, doing what he's done countless times before. But this time, something's different. The air feels charged. And then it happens. Syrian security forces burst in, catching Cohen mid-transmission. Even in that moment of crisis, Cohen's spy instincts kicked in. He tried to send a final coded warning to Israel, transmitting a message about Syrian army alert status, but slower than usual. A subtle signal that he'd been caught. It was a last, desperate attempt to protect his handlers, even as his own world crumbled. What followed was a nightmare of interrogation and a show trial. Cohen wasn't allowed to defend himself. The man who had fooled Syria's elite for years was now at their mercy. His capture marked the end of one of the most daring espionage operations in history, but as the dust settled, questions lingered. How much damage had Cohen done? And what would Syria do with the spy who came in from the heat? In the world of espionage, even the most careful spy can slip up. For Eli Cohen, that moment came on January 24th, 1965. After years of successful operations, his luck finally ran out. Cohen had settled back into his Damascus routine, thinking he was safe. But Syrian security forces were closing in, monitoring radio transmissions and searching for the source of their information leaks. Picture this. Cohen's sitting in his apartment, radio in hand. He's done this 1,000 times before. But today, something's different. There's a tension in the air. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Syrian security forces flood into the room. Cohen's caught red-handed in the middle of a transmission. It's a spy's worst nightmare come to life. But even in this moment of crisis, Cohen's training kicks in. He tries to send one last message to his handlers in Israel. The Syrian army is in a state of alert, he transmits. But there's a catch. He sends it slower than usual, a subtle signal that he's been caught. It's a final act of loyalty, even as his world crumbles around him. The Syrians aren't messing around. They know they've caught a big fish. As they start to dig into Cohen's background, the truth comes out. This isn't just any spy. This is Eli Cohen, one of Israel's top agents. You can imagine the shock and anger of the Syrian officials. Here's a guy who's been at their parties, shared their secrets, even considered for high-ranking positions, and all along he's been working for the enemy. Even as his true identity is revealed, Cohen keeps his cool. He faces his captors with the same composure that made him such an effective spy. But let's not sugarcoat it. Cohen's in deep trouble. The news of Cohen's capture spreads quickly. In Israel, it's a major blow. They've lost one of their best sources of intelligence. In Syria, it's a triumph. They've caught the spy who fooled them for years. But this isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter that will test Cohen's resolve, spark international outcry, and leave a lasting mark on Middle East history. How will Cohen face what's coming? And what consequences will his capture have for the region? That's what we're about to find out. The world watched as Eli Cohen's fate hung in the balance. His trial wasn't just about one man. It was a show of power by the Syrian government. They wanted to send a message. Cross us, and you'll pay the price. But Cohen wasn't your average spy. Even as he faced accusations that would make most people crumble, he kept his cool. It was like he was made of steel, unflinching in the face of certain doom. The international community sprang into action. Pleas for clemency poured in from all corners of the globe. Israeli Foreign Minister Golda Meir led the charge, rallying support from diplomats, prime ministers, even Pope Paul VI. But the Syrians, they weren't budging. Their minds were made up, and no amount of pressure was going to change that. Throughout it all, Cohen maintained his composure and dignity. It was as if he was still playing a role, still the master of deception, even when his cover had been blown. Did he crack under the pressure? Did he spill state secrets to save his own skin? That's the million-dollar question. But from what we know, Cohen kept his lips sealed tight. In the end, the verdict surprised no one. The military tribunal found Cohen guilty of espionage and sentenced him to death under martial law, swift, brutal, and with no room for appeal. But even as the sentence was handed down, Cohen remained defiant. He knew his fate was sealed, but he wasn't about to give his captors the satisfaction of seeing him break. It was like he was still fighting, still serving his country, even in his final moments. As Cohen was led away from the courtroom, you couldn't help but wonder, what was going through his mind? Was he thinking about the life he'd left behind, the family he'd never see again, or was he already planning his final act of defiance? Because make no mistake, Eli Cohen wasn't done yet. Even with death staring him in the face, he had one last card to play. And it's a moment that would cement his legacy as one of the greatest spies in history. But that's a story for another time. Cohen's final move was a letter that would leave a lasting impact. As he prepared for execution, he wrote to his wife, Nadia, and their 3 children. The letter wasn't just a goodbye, it was a testament to his life and mission. Cohen expressed his love, regrets, and unwavering patriotism, urging his children to be proud of their country and remember his sacrifice. In his final hours, Cohen requested to see a rabbi. Surprisingly, the Syrian authorities granted this wish. Rabbi Nissim Indibo, the elderly chief rabbi of Syria, was brought to Cohen's cell. We can only imagine the powerful conversation that took place between the condemned spy and the rabbi in those moments. As execution approached, all eyes were on Cohen. How would he face his final moments? The answer came as he was led to the gallows in Damascus's Marja Square. Eyewitnesses describe a man who walked to his death with quiet dignity. There was no begging, no last-minute confessions. Even his executioners couldn't help but notice his composure. On May 18, 1965, Eli Cohen was hanged in front of a massive crowd. His execution was broadcast live on Syrian television, intended as a final humiliation. But Cohen's courage in the face of death turned the spectacle into a testament to his bravery. Cohen's story, however, didn't end with his death. In many ways, it was just beginning. His execution sparked a controversy that would last for decades. What happened next? That's where things get really interesting. Cohen's execution may have ended his life, but it was far from the end of his story. The aftermath of his death ignited a decades-long struggle that continues to this day. What could be so contentious about a dead spy that it would spark an international incident lasting over half a century? It all started with Israel's efforts to recover Cohen's remains. You'd think this would be a straightforward matter, right? Wrong. Syria has consistently denied requests from Cohen's family and the Israeli government to return his body. Reports suggest that Syrian authorities buried Cohen's body 3 times in different locations to prevent its retrieval. It's like a macabre game of hide-and-seek with geopolitical implications. For Israel, Cohen isn't just any fallen soldier. He's a national hero. Streets and neighborhoods across the country bear his name. There's even a memorial stone for him in the Garden of the Missing Soldiers in Jerusalem. Cohen has become a symbol of sacrifice and patriotism. Now let's talk about the impact of Cohen's intelligence. His information was crucial in shaping the outcome of conflicts that redrew the map of the Middle East. Remember those trees he suggested planting in the Golan Heights? They became targeting markers for Israeli artillery in the Six-Day War. As time passes, more of Cohen's story is coming to light. Recent declassifications have revealed new details about his operations. For instance, his last telegram before capture was recently unveiled, detailing a meeting between Syrian military officials. It's like pieces of a puzzle slowly falling into place, revealing the full picture of Cohen's extraordinary mission. Will we ever know the whole story? That's the million-dollar question. Even now, decades after his death, Cohen's legacy continues to evolve. Each new revelation adds another layer to the legend of the man who fooled Syria's elite. Cohen's techniques, dedication, and ultimate sacrifice have become a blueprint for intelligence operations around the world. His shadow still looms large over the world of international espionage. As we look back on Cohen's extraordinary life and death, we're left with some big questions. What's the true cost of serving one's country? Where's the line between heroism and recklessness? And in a world of shifting alliances and hidden agendas, can we ever really know the full truth about operations like Cohen's? These are the questions that keep intelligence agencies up at night, and they're the same questions that make Eli Cohen's story as relevant today as it was over half a century ago. The spy game may have changed, but the echoes of Cohen's bravery still resonate in the shadowy world of modern espionage. Eli Cohen's story is a complex tale of espionage and sacrifice. This ordinary accountant turned spy changed Middle Eastern history through his extraordinary memory and charm, but his actions came at a devastating personal cost. Cohen's legacy forces us to confront the moral implications of espionage. He gave up everything, his identity, family, and ultimately his life, for what he believed was a greater cause. His story raises uncomfortable questions about the price of national security and the human toll it takes. As we consider Cohen's life, we're left to grapple with the blurred lines between heroism and manipulation in the shadowy world of international espionage. His story serves as a stark reminder of the personal sacrifices made in the name of larger geopolitical goals.